Top 10 80s TV shows that were ahead of their time. The 1980s, a decade known for its vibrant culture, from neon leg warmers to iconic power ballads. But beyond the fashion and music, something revolutionary was happening on television screens. Amidst the era's mainstream hits, there were shows that dared to be different. Too ambitious, too complex, or simply too ahead of their time. These shows pushed the boundaries of what television could be. Today, they're celebrated as cult classics, but in their own time, they often flew under the radar. Join us as we count down the top 10 80s TV shows that were ahead of their time. Ready for a trip into the future of TV before it even arrived? Let's kick off the countdown at number 10. Number 10.
For the first time ever on DVD.
Max Headroom.
Max Headroom, 1987-1988. If there's one show that screams ahead of its time, it's Max Headroom. Set 20 minutes into the future, this cyberpunk drama gave us a world where media conglomerates controlled society, and everything was dominated by digital screens. Sound familiar? Oh, and let's not forget Max himself, the world's first AI TV host, glitchy and snarky, poking fun at the very media he existed within. It didn't just predict the future of tech, it predicted our present. Max Headroom's biting satire and dystopian vision laid the groundwork for today's discussions about artificial intelligence and corporate dominance. Number 9.
The aliens have landed, and there's something about them we don't know.
Alien Nation, 1989-1990. Alien Nation was far more than a sci-fi show. It was a social allegory wrapped in an extraterrestrial narrative. In a world where aliens, known as newcomers, try to integrate into human society, the show tackled themes of racism, immigration, and systemic injustice in ways no other series dared. Its storylines were thought-provoking, using the sci-fi backdrop to comment on human rights and societal integration. Although the world wasn't quite ready to fully embrace its message at the time, today, Alien Nation stands as a trailblazer for modern socially conscious TV. Number 8. The Equalizer, 1985-1989. The Equalizer was more than just an action-packed vigilante show. Robert McCall, a former covert operations officer, wasn't a superhero, but rather a man haunted by his past, offering justice to those in need. It was gritty, morally complex, and asked hard questions about justice in an imperfect world. With themes of redemption, this series paved the way for the morally conflicted anti-heroes that dominate today's TV landscape. Think Walter White meets Jack Reacher, a quiet storm of vigilante justice ahead of its time. Number 7.
The Misfits of Science.
Misfits of Science, 1985-1986. Way before the quirky superhero ensembles we know today, there was Misfits of Science. It was an early attempt to blend superpowers with humor, following a ragtag team of heroes whose powers were more bizarre than beneficial. Featuring a young Courtney Cox, the show was zany, fun, and far from the typical superhero narrative of the time. In a way, it foreshadowed today's offbeat superhero hits like The Umbrella Academy and Guardians of the Galaxy. Too ahead of the curve for the 80s, but in today's world, it would fit right in. Number 6. Sledgehammer, 1986-1988. Sledgehammer, the cop who solves everything with a bullet and a catchphrase. Sledgehammer was a brilliant parody of 80s action TV, mocking the hyper-violent, over-the-top law enforcement tropes of the time. The humor was sharp, satirical, and just absurd enough to fly under the radar of those expecting traditional cop drama. Fans of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and the Naked Gun series owe a lot to this clever send-up of a genre that, at the time, took itself way too seriously. Love a good deep dive into the past? Make sure to hit that subscribe button for more nostalgia-filled trips through your favorite TV classics. Your support helps us keep exploring the shows and stories that shaped an era and beyond. Let's keep the conversation going. Number 5. Wise Guy 1987-1990. Years before serialized storytelling became the norm, Wise Guy was pioneering long-form narratives within the crime genre. Following Vinny Terranova as he infiltrates crime syndicates, Wise Guy dared to tell its story over multiple episodes, abandoning the case of the weak format in favor of deeper, richer arcs. The gritty realism and complex emotional stakes it introduced have influenced everything from The Sopranos to Breaking Bad, making Wise Guy one of the unsung heroes of TV innovation. Number 4. Moonlighting 1985-1989. Moonlighting wasn't your average detective show, it was a witty, self-aware romp that blurred the lines between romance, comedy, and mystery. With Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd at its core, the show thrived on their electric chemistry and sharp, rapid-fire dialogue. But what truly set it apart was its willingness to break the fourth wall, play with genre conventions, and mix in meta humor, setting the stage for modern dramedies like The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. This was groundbreaking TV, even if we didn't fully appreciate its innovation back then. Number 3. St. Elsewhere 1982-1988. In a world of formulaic medical dramas, St. Elsewhere was a stark, gritty breath of fresh air. Set in a crumbling inner-city hospital, it dealt with issues like AIDS, mental illness, and poverty, topics that were rarely touched by other series of its time. St. Elsewhere didn't just push boundaries with its subject matter, but with its interconnected storylines and ensemble cast, paving the way for future hits like and Grey's Anatomy. It was uncompromising in its realism, challenging its audience in ways that still resonate today.
The Wonder Years, 1988. The Wonder Years premiered in 1988, and like Twin Peaks, its influence on TV storytelling is undeniable. This nostalgic coming-of-age drama broke new ground by blending heartfelt family moments with a sharp, introspective look at adolescence. Set against the backdrop of 1960s America, it captured the innocence and complexity of growing up in a rapidly changing world. With its unique narration and emotional depth, The Wonder Years paved the way for future dramas like Freaks and Geeks and This Is Us, cementing its place as a timeless classic.
Number 1. The Twilight Zone 1985-1989 reboot. While the original Twilight Zone is legendary, the 1980s reboot took the concept and gave it a modern twist, continuing its tradition of mind-bending, thought-provoking stories. The rebooted series wasn't afraid to delve into the moral dilemmas of the era, exploring futuristic technology, human nature, and dystopian realities, just like its predecessor. While it may not have captured the same magic at the time, the 80s Twilight Zone paved the way for today's resurgence in anthology storytelling, seen in shows like Black Mirror. Looking back, it's clear the 1980s were a crucible of television innovation. While many of these shows struggled to gain mainstream success during their original runs, they were breaking ground and pushing creative boundaries that television wouldn't fully embrace until years later. From serialized storytelling to dark social commentary, these shows blazed a trail for the TV we binge-watch today. Can't get enough of retro TV? Then don't miss our next video on the top 10 forgotten 90s tech gadgets. Trust us, you're going to want to relive these forgotten gems.